30 years old, I considered myself who is fit. I like to take care of my health. It was 2021 and I was flying alone to Texas for a work trip. I arrived at my airport in Chicago and I experienced something creepy that has never happened to me at the airport. I arrived at the airport and went straight to the counter to check in my bags. After, I went directly through TSA without a problem. After passing through security, things started to get weird. I had about 1 hour of free time before we checked into our flight. I decided to go get a Starbucks, and this is when I noticed an older man who was wearing shorts was only a few feet behind me taking photos. I happened to look at him to make eye contact and he moves his phone into another direction. I thought he was just taking photos of someone he knew. I arrived at the long line at Starbucks, and I noticed the man was now a few feet behind me. I turn around quickly to see what he is doing and noticed his phone is looking directly at my body. I get this creepy vibe that this older man is filming me. I decided to go grab a coffee somewhere else to see if the guy would follow me. I headed towards a Dunkin' Donuts that was on the other side of my gate. I started to walk, and then I realized the man was following me. I panicked. I wasn't sure what to do. This man was wearing a face mask, so I couldn't get a good read. This guy looked like he was 50 years old. I'm standing in line waiting for my turn. I get a phone call and I answer. As I'm on the phone, I look over to my right and notice that the man is literally filming me up and down. That's when it hit me that this creepy stalker is filming me. I go directly up to him and ask him, "Are you taking photos of me?" The man says no and begins to walk away. I follow him and ask him, "I know you are filming me. Let me see your phone." The man denies the accusation and says to leave him alone. I'm furious at this time, and I firmly ask him again to let me see his phone. He then says, "I'll get rid of it. I'm sorry. Leave me alone." At this point, I was already starting to make a big scene. The man opens his phone right in front of me and deletes the photos and videos of me. He was filming me from behind. He deleted them and went his way. I was furious that this man could be a father and is doing this in the open. I can't imagine how many people this creepy man is doing this to. It was a Saturday afternoon. I was a soldier at the time, traveling home from Afghanistan. I was originally supposed to go home via military channels, but plans were changed last second to have me flown out of Doha on Qatar Airways. Normally, this is a good thing. Qatar is a fantastic airline, and I would get home much quicker this way. The problem with Qatar is that pornography is illegal. It wouldn't have been a huge problem, except for the fact that they consider Men's Health magazine to be pornography. I happened to have bought one in preparation for the original flight home. Upon discovering the magazine in my carry-on, they pulled me out of line and retrieved my checked bag, which contained tons of military gear. They also scrutinized my orders, which supposedly had some errors. This was a huge problem to them. They take me to a room and start questioning me. I spent a long time answering questions and sleeping in my empty cell. I was shocked what was happening. I had no idea how long everything would take until everything would work itself out. The thought did cross my mind that I may have to live out the rest of my life in Qatari detention. Finally, 2 days later, they said I could leave. They said to be careful and to respect their laws. I didn't say anything and went on my way. You always must be careful when you travel abroad. You don't think the same laws apply to your country. About 10 years ago, I was flying to Havana, Cuba for an international tennis tournament. I arrived at the airport in Cuba late at night, and there was barely anyone on the flight or anyone around. There I was, happily thinking everything would go quickly because it wasn't busy. Boy, was I wrong. I was pulled aside by a security officer who started to ask me questions. I made sure to answer every single one politely and honestly. Apparently unsatisfied by my answers, they asked me to follow them to another building away from the terminal. I was placed in a room with no windows and a one-way door and left alone for 4 hours. When finally, someone entered the room. He entered the room, immediately accused me of drug trafficking, and proceeded to threaten me with jail time. There I was, sitting in Cuba, them having possession of my bags. My word against theirs. I don't speak Spanish. For 6 more hours we went back and forth over every item in my bags, every picture on my phone and more. They asked who were my parents. Why was I here? Who is this person in this picture? How do you know them? Where do they live? Where did you buy these shoes? And every 4th or 5th question. Do you have any drugs with you? Are you sure? Do you need to go to the bathroom? Do you have any internal pain? Finally, I just looked at him and said, let's just go to the hospital. You can do an ultrasound on me, and you will see that I am not carrying anything inside my body. After letting me know several times that they would cut me open, he left the room. 2 more hours passed. Then the door opened. There he stood, my bags by his side, and an armed guard looking over his shoulder. He reached out his hand and said, I'm sorry to have taken so much of your time. You are free to go. This man will escort you back to the terminal. Enjoy your stay in Cuba. It was obviously a bad cop who I was dealing with.